Morgan, BlackRock, DTCC, Fidelity. The entire thing was just institutions. It's next level. This industry is going to the next level. And guys, I don't know what else to say. I'm bullish.
You said it. You finally said it.
I'm so bullish.
Andy's bullish. I'm bullish. We're bullish. We're going to the top. We're on 4th floor today. We're going to be on floor 1, and then we're headed straight to the moon, boys. We're live.
Boom. Boom. Happy Wednesday. I'm forgetting what day of the week it is.
Wednesday indeed.
I'm on island time.
You're in Hawaii. All you got, it's the sound of the waves. Every day is a day that ends in Y. Waves coming in, coming out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very zen out there.
Dude, my Twitter timeline is cooked, man. It's like, here we go. GameStop, $4 in credit. Okay. Crypto stuff. Okay, so it's better on this computer for some reason. Oh, here we go. Sequence of photos of Rosie Huntington Whiteley and Jason Statham. Don't care. Like, it's so weird. It's like all these random stuff. Oh, somebody got shot by an ICE agent. Like, what the fuck, man? What happened to Twitter, man?
Is that your For You page, or is that the people you follow?
It's the For You page. What happened to Twitter, man?
The For You page is always cooked, isn't it?
Welcome back to Rollup TV. We're doing a stablecoin deep dive with Sam Kazmian and Sammy Start from Frax and Transak. We're going to do Frax first, talk about some of the recent happenings in the geopolitical environment, I think, and then get some updates on stablecoins and that sort of realm, and then Transak's more around payments. It's fresh 10 a.m. here in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's about 3:15.
Happy birthday to Rob.
Over here in Florida. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Rob. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna have some fun. Might eat some sushi tonight. Let's have a good time.
Sushi.
We've got sushi.
Nice.
Funny story, actually. Last time we were in New York, the sushi restaurant in town here used to be the best sushi restaurant in Florida. Surprising for Gainesville, but really good sushi restaurant. By total coincidence, went to a sushi restaurant. There's a million sushi restaurants in New York. Went to a sushi restaurant 10 years ago. He was wearing a Gators hat. So we say go Gators. And so he was the sushi chef at the restaurant in Gainesville 10 years ago.
Wow.
Total coincidence. We went, guy gave us a nice, was just serving up sushi.
Jeez.
Just on the house, gave us a salad, a couple sushi rolls on the house. Great guy. Shout out Jeff Miller. Shout out Chef Jeff.
Chef
Rosella in Soho, New York City. We will see you again, Chef Jeff.
All right, we got
Okay.
about 15 minutes until our boy Sam comes on. Let's rip through some of the latest happenings and news pieces that we wanted to cover today. We're still kind of catching up on the 2026 news cycle. It feels like it's happening so fast.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Twitter timeline's cooked. We got to create our own timeline. Let's see what we got running.
yeah, the Twitter
Quickly.
timeline is pretty cooked. Yeah, I
Let's
know.
get it up.
I mean, I still feel like I haven't even caught up on 2026 news cycle. It's January 7th.
It's just Venezuela.
This is like syllabus week in work. It's like,
Yeah.
feels like everyone's trying to just getting back, circling up with you. You know, we'll book a call next week.
That's a good
Type of
analogy.
vibe.
That's a good analogy.
It's silly
like-
week right
I
now.
like
I
that
saw
one a
some
lot.
tweet about it.
All right, so the timeline's not entirely cooked. Leo, let's get something up on the show. All right. According to RWA.xyz, Canton blockchain has 95% market share of represented RWAs, $382 billion of assets. Sorry, just one asset. You've never heard of Canton? Repurchase agreements on Broadridge DLR. I'm not even going to even try to explain what is Canton. You've never heard of Canton. It's a glorified database. Why presumably there are as much RWAs there. You can mint whatever amount. Frankly, I'm surprised there's so little.
Yeah.
And what are these represented RWAs? Think useless. Suffice to say, this is as useless and confusing a metric as it can get. If this is what we mean by the RWA revolution, then I guess this is not what I signed up for working in the space. We can do better. Second to Canton is none other than the other blockchain that you've never heard of.
Providence.
Providence.
Dude, yeah. I mean, this is the problem with RWAs, right? Is like you like there's all this pushback about tokenization and about what is even being represented. And it is confusing. And like the RWXYZ's guys do a good job of showing what's happening. But like if you look at this, it's like so they got 8,693 RWAs, total value is 382 billion, market share 95%. But yeah, nobody knows like what that even is. So I'm kind of with Bartek on this one. Like, what is Canton and like what are these RWAs and repurchase agreements on Broadridge DLR? So if you scroll down, I think the comments get pretty spicy here. Actually, it might be a screenshot, but
Canton has been obviously making a ton of partnerships. They partner with DTCC, the digital trust clearinghouse, or not digital, but the clearinghouse that clears 99% of stocks. Sam Kazmian, Stablecoin genius, is going to be coming on, and he can tell us more. But we know that they are partnering with NASDAQ. They're partnering with TTC. They have all these really strong partnerships. And so they've got institutional connections in the space. But as far as like our Web3 crypto native mind is just struggling to comprehend what Canton could be doing and why they could be getting all of this adoption. I'll tell you right now, my understanding is that Canton and why a lot of these other institutional companies and institutions like Canton is because it's permissioned. And this is part of a trend that I anticipate will continue to evolve and develop, which is that the institutional incumbents, where 99% of financial activity takes place right now on Wall Street, they like the idea of blockchain. They like that a lot of people are very excited about it and people are coming on and they're getting engaged in their finance, but they're not going to embrace the free-spirited ethos that we know and we love. These guys, they want control over the chain. They want to be able to roll it back. They want interoperability with the BlackRocks and Fidelities and Vanguards. They don't want interoperability or composability with the Scroll and Tornado Cash. And so we're going to see this segmentation where it's open, it's interoperable. It's a big kumbaya if you have a seat at the table. And I think that is what is happening right now in the Canton validator network as you see more, institutions come on and they run these super validators on Canton. You have to have a seat at the table if you want to play with the big guys. And Canton is kind of setting the table right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bartek comes from a very fundamental technical background and very much like analyzing the ins and outs of everything. And so I can understand why this grinds his gears, to be honest. It's gear grinding material right here. Knowing that the way that we count RWAs, I think, yeah, it's gonna get changed. And I think that people are kind of misunderstanding the whole value prop here. And yeah, I mean, $382 billion of assets. Sorry, just one asset kind of tells it to you straight. So, Bartek, keep fighting the good fight, man. It's all gonna work out for you. Cannon's gonna keep dominating though, I think. And what's that? That token was looking pretty good for a little while. I don't know what it's doing now.
Which one, Canton?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
looking all
obviously
right.
they've
It's
had a lot of
definitely-
strong partnerships. I
Yeah.
I'm not an expert. I haven't dug particularly deep into Canton's architecture, but my understanding is that it's also not really a blockchain, just like Provenance. Like these are essentially ledgers and databases,
Yeah.
and they allow, like, imagine a piece of technology. I don't know exactly what you would call this, but imagine tokenization and
Yep.
smart contracts that allow you to compute over these tokens,
Yep.
but it's not a blockchain. And so you kind of have this interoperable set of databases and ledgers, and you're kind of able to like share state a little bit, and you're not, you prevent double counting.
Yep.
And you kind of have this idea of consensus, this notion of consensus, because you do have validators.
Yep.
But there's really
It's not a blockchain.
It's not a blockchain. It's not a
No.
blockchain. And so we're gonna learn more about this, because I think you can fight this, or you can realize that like this is the way the space is moving.
Exactly.
And NASDAQ, DT, like this thing is not going anywhere. If anything, we're gonna see more and more of these neo-finance, non-blockchain systems emerge. So while Bartik does have kind of a good take here, and I think he's calling out some important mistakes in the way that we do count TVL and RWAs and the way that we're structuring these things. It's not apples to apples. Like Canton versus ZK Sync is apples to oranges.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on from Bartek. Thank you, Bartek, for your contributions to today's show from the L2B team. So we've got a pretty scary chart here. Violent attacks against crypto investors per year by severity. So the trend here is the blue is like the most severe possible attack, and the green at the bottom is the least severe of the attack. So like the way this is ranked is like the green is like maybe somebody tries to like punch you and take your backpack, or steals your backpack, or like tries to do non-violent crime. And then the blue is like you get kidnapped and your thumbs get cut off. And then like everything in between there is kind of on the sliding scale. And the scary thing is that if you see, this is only just accelerated since 2020. And the other scary thing is that the dark orange into the maroon red kind of just gets bigger since 2023. Bigger, bigger, bigger. And the blue gets bigger too. And so rule 1 of crypto, prioritize OPSEC. Rule 2 of crypto, see rule 1. Yeah, I mean, I must say, having way less like on chain and like just not having the same setup as I've had in the past after this past year ended, I feel so much better about OPSEC and just this type of stuff. And knock on wood here, stay safe, guys. But yeah, this is this is a bit of a worrying chart. And my take here is that, well, you just gotta stay. You have to have OPSEC. You have to obviously listen to what GSR is saying. But I also don't think it's that big of a deal, because if you really look into the cases, it's freaking people that are like self-proclaimed crypto king of Ontario, Canada, that get wrecked. Or
Yeah.
like it's the people that are like driving the Lambos and like flexing on everybody. And like, or it's the people that have like scammed their way to the top and like have given people a reason to fuck them. And then there's the rare cases of like the Ledger CEO who probably people went after him because of all the data breaches where there's like, so my take is like, there's always a reason for these people that get in trouble. It's either excessive flaunting or braggadocious behavior, or they've screwed somebody over. And then on the very, very small side of the spectrum, you've got bad luck.
I only have one more. I think all of that is true, Andy, and I only have one more thing to add, which is that the way this chart is counting attacks is raw numbers. And the raw number of crypto investors has gone up year over year since 2020.
Correct.
And
Yes.
so I would have liked to see this as a relative basis, right? Of the number of crypto investors, what proportion of them are getting attacked? Is that number going up? Or is it just we're going up and it's actually going up in relation to the number of investors that are going up?
I hear you. I think Hasib did a post on that as well.
Okay.
And he did see that it was indeed related to the increase in crypto investor count. So anyway, moving on from OPSEC, just a friendly reminder from us at Rollup TV to stay safe. We've got the Payment Scan XYZ, a new website that I've found yesterday. I don't know how I didn't see this up till now, but it's showing here. I think this is like an important website in the neo finance category. So if you think about neo finance, it's pretty clear that payments is a big part of it, and these neo banks. And so in this chart, what you can see here is that EtherFi is absolutely dominating in terms of total payments. Then you've got Cypher, Ready, Gnosis, and a couple of others. And like the names of the people that are dominating don't really matter. The trend that we're betting on with the roll-up for 2026 and beyond is that this chart is going to just continue to go hockey stick. Like the chart is absolutely flying. Like forget about who's winning. We're touching $100 million months for the first time. December. Obviously, Q4 is big spending. We'll see if that keeps up in Q1. I doubt it. But I anticipate this to just keep firing away. And so, this is a massive part of the neo finance thesis. And I think this is something that we had to cover today.
Yeah, I like it. Let's scroll down a little bit because we do segment by chain. We've got Solana cards. We've got a comparison of top. Let's see a comparison of top cards there. Okay. And so we've sort of got this breakdown of Visa versus MasterCard as far as the provider. And then we've got, what kind of cash back we're looking at.
Yep.
I also believe that a lot of this is outside of the US when it comes to cash back. We've still got sort of this Genius Act overhang of can we give rebates? Can we give revenue back to some of these people? And so I would anticipate that cash back, you're going to end up seeing a lot more. I'd imagine, and it takes time to work through some of the partnerships. Like think about Amex, right? Flight lounges, perks, travel, hotels. It takes time to work through all of those perks and work through partnerships with each of those providers. So I'd imagine that, we're going to get more and more benefits as these things gain in popularity. They're going to get network effects, more perks, more partnerships is going to end up bringing more card providers. And then we're going to get this flywheel. I also think that payments is ripe for M&A. And so I would not be surprised if we saw some sort of merger acquisition play of some of the names that we see here. Ready, right, from Argent.
Yep.
And if we saw one of the major card providers merge with one of these crypto native card providers, ultimately bringing together a more full stack experience.
Yeah. I just wanted to highlight this because I thought that Payment Scan was pretty interesting. And yeah, I think this is a site that we'll keep coming back to because I think it shows really good data. Data dashboards on X is what this user's handle is. So, all right, guys, we're gonna get our first episode of Stabled Up 2026 ready to go next. So we got Sam, the founder of Frax, ready to go in the back. He's going to get fired up. We're going to do Stabled Up episode for the first episode of 2026. I believe we're on episode 15 or 16 now. So guys, quick pause, quick break, and we'll be right back with Stabled Up and get firing with Sam. See you in a second.
Yeet is built for big moments. The most fun you'll ever have with your crypto. Go to yeet.com to yeet into your next game.
Not your keys, not your coins. From the team that pioneered cold storage, Trezor has just released its new wallet. Guys, if you are still using hot wallets in 2025, 2026, you are missing the entire point. Secure your coins. Get a Trezor at trezor.io.
Go anywhere on chain instantly with Relay.link. Relay is closing in on $10 billion transferred. Go to Relay.link to bridge your assets now.
Money shouldn't wait for Mondays. Following its real upgrade, Polygon is now one of the fastest chains for stablecoin transfers and payments. Visit Polygon Technology to learn more.
Kalshi is the world's largest prediction market. You can trade on anything in all 50 states. Go to kalshi.com to trade today.
Talk to AI like your lawyer or your doctor or your therapist. Yours, private, and here today. Visit near.ai to have a fully private chat experience.
Hibachi is fast and private perps trading, secured by ZK with Celestia underneath. Go to hibachi.xyz to start trading today.
Looking for yield that stands out? Infinify gives you just that. Deposit stablecoins and earn far more than the current savings rate. Infinify is a battle-tested, reliable DeFi platform that is ready to go. Head to infinify.xyz.
Halliday is unified crypto payments. Give your users more wherever they are. Go to halliday.xyz to never write a smart contract again.
Open, stable, borderless. Frax is building the next generation of stablecoin infrastructure for the digital finance era. Visit frax.com to learn more today.
Yeet is built for big moments. The most fun you'll ever have with your crypto. Go to yeet.com to yeet into your next game.
Not your keys, not your coins. From the team that pioneered cold storage, Trezor has just released its new wallet. Guys, if you are still using hot wallets in 2025, 2026, you are missing the entire point. Secure your coins. Get a Trezor at trezor.io.
Go anywhere on chain instantly with Relay.link. Relay is closing in on $10 billion transferred. Go to Relay.link to bridge your assets now.
Money shouldn't wait for Mondays. Following its real upgrade, Polygon is now one of the fastest chains for stablecoin transfers and payments. Visit Polygon Technology to learn more.
Kalshi is the world's largest prediction market. You can trade on anything in all 50 states. Go to kalshi.com to trade today.
Talk to AI like your lawyer or your doctor or your therapist. Yours, private, and here today. Visit near.ai to have a fully private chat experience.
Hibachi is fast and private perps trading, secured by ZK with Celestia underneath. Go to hibachi.xyz to start trading today.
Looking for yield that stands out? Infinify gives you just that. Deposit. Welcome back to another episode of Stabled Up, our premier weekly show covering the ins and outs of digital dollars, stablecoins, and the future of decentralized finance.
The show is made possible by Frax, and Frax is powering the financial engine of the internet, powering FRX USD and Genius compliant stablecoins. This is the stablecoin super cycle made possible by Frax. Now enjoy Stabled Up, our weekly stablecoin show.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to episode 15 of Stabled Up, our weekly premier stablecoin show with our lovely friends at Frax. Today we have Sam, the CEO and co-founder of Frax, to kick us off for 2026 first episode of Stabled Up. Happy New Year, Sam.
Happy New Year to you guys too. It's good to be back. First full week of 2026, right?
Yeah, I told Rob it feels like syllabus week this week, which was like the first week when you're back in college, and it's kind of like, you know, you're getting your syllabus. Everyone's like circling up, you know, let's schedule a call, let's circle up, and so it's kind of getting back into the motions here.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's a lot of things in Q1. I think that people, especially us at Frax, but I'm sure we're not the only ones that have signed these deals, exclusive deals, MOUs, and they're all like, let's not go public with it, right before Christmas and stuff like that. And I think that really applies to the stablecoin payments and DeFi space, because even though we have a bunch of huge stuff to roll out, I think we're not the only ones, and I expect to see a lot of big rumblings, especially from what I've been hearing.
Yeah. It's exciting times. And we've been thinking a lot about this even over the holidays, thinking about how, what coming into 2026, what are some of the trends and narratives to watch out for? And stable coins, payments obviously are going to be a really, really important part of this new what we're calling neo finance, which is sort of this evolution of, we're kind of like leaving behind the legacy crypto infrastructure era, leaving behind legacy finance and, traditional banks and that sort of thing. And kind of these two things are converging in this neobank sort of world. Stablecoins payments are a really important piece of that. What are some of the things that you sort of ended off 2025 on when you're looking ahead to 26? Like what are some of the big stroke ideas that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think 2025 was obviously the genius year with legislation and stuff, but it was a building year for a lot of the industry, but us at Frax, but also institutions that were like, okay, let's get something started. Let's actually get teams, the digital asset team, sign deals and things like that. I think 2026 is the hockey stick year, especially for people, institutions, products that have laid the foundation. Basically, a lot of these things, they were just getting started, right? And so if you look at, the classic hockey stick chart of like startups, right? It's very, very, very slow, right? And it's linear. And then there's like an inflection point that literally turns it exponential, right? And I think 2026 is the year of the exponential. I think Hasib had this like long post, the exponential. He mainly meant it for like the L1 stuff. It was like a monad centric post, but I think there will be a few breakouts in 2026 in the stablecoin space, in the neo finance. That's a good category name that you guys have. That I think obviously Frax and Frax USD will be one of those. I have my eyes on a few. I think also just in terms of partnerships that I can talk about, like I think Stripe, Bridge, and Tempo. So like we're very big partners with Bridge. They're actually working on full orchestration internally with Frax USD as well. There aren't that many stablecoins that directly you can just do it. Usually you have to go through like USDC and USDB in their systems. And so this is one of those, and we have a really big use case that we're going to announce publicly in Q1 that I think is no one else has this particular use case. So it'll be really exciting to highlight that once we're able to go public with it. And so the important thing is these big integrations that finally come together with a few of these large companies. We're also on Tempo building for the day one genesis of the chain with their new technology, and Frax USD will be there with Flywheel tokenomics, yield streaming, bringing that famous DeFi type of economics, as well as the T-bill underlying reward system using Tempo's own TIP20. It's actually a really, really cool system. Dan Robinson and those guys over there have really cooked in terms of how the tech stack there works. So it's a few of these things hitting critical mass, and it's going to be a few projects, right? I'm looking, and I have some opinions on who else it's going to be. And I think by the end of Q1, people will see kind of who will dominate the next 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, I think this neo finance category is like this convergence point where legacy finance companies and crypto native companies meet. We had Mike Novogratz, the Galaxy CEO, talking about a shift from these narrative driven tokens to business driven tokens with measurable value and profits, expecting this general structural transformation where wallets and exchanges may evolve into these neobank type platforms. You've got this kind of new superset of fintech where you got these very easy to use consumer front ends, DeFi backends, business driven tokens, institutional bids for these kind of DeFi blue chips with sensible value accrual. There's this focus on this persistent buybacks, financial discipline, transparency, openness. And yeah, it just seems like these stablecoins, RWAs, lending, asset management, vaults, these types of categories kind of leading this year's charge. It's like this evolution of DeFi, and it's really like this convergence point. And I think a great example is exactly what you said with this orchestration work that you guys are doing with Stripe and Bridge. Is again like this kind of convergence where it's like you got this Chad Neo Finance versus like the Virgin high float, low FTV L1 with no kind of like, product market fit, not a lot of use case activity. And then you've got a lot of differing opinions. But our through line this year is definitely that this general sector, and there's a lot of kind of like subsectors, tokenization of stablecoins, payments, vaults, neobanks, cards, etc. Right? Issuers, right? All these little subsectors of this broader idea, we think is going to be the biggest area of growth and interest this year. So passing back to you with this context in mind, also with your kind of roadmap in mind, do you have any predictions, any personal predictions for 2026, whether it be for Frax, for stablecoins, or just generally like further how you see, like what core themes you see really happening this year?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think there's like two main parts to it. One is I think this year is going to be the year of unification, and there's multiple ways to describe it. One is the economics of tokens or equity-like tokens, whether they're buyback, burns. I think putting aside the stablecoin products and stuff for a second, I think everyone saw the Aave clarification governance proposals, the other things of like, does a token have IP and all these things? Is there, one token? Is there multiple, like the sub-DAO model and all these things? Do burns and buybacks actually work? There's a lot of posts I saw that, people are like, look, everything, the altcoin space didn't have that as good of a, 2025 as people thought. Even the ones like Pump and others that are like buying back and burning, millions of dollars every few days. I think it's going to be the year of unification in the sense like all this stuff is going to get clarified. All this stuff is going to, for the good tokens, right? Like, for example, with the Frax token, it does represent the entire intellectual property of like the Frax DAO and all these things. And we have always said these things, and it gets the entire income. There's no labs entity, which usually I actually described, Uniswap as an example, and then they fixed it. And then the major props to Uniswap, in fact, the unification proposal. And I think I want to say that this is the year of a lot of important tokens that will do well, investments that will do well, will have this kind of clarification, whether they do buybacks all the time or whether the buyback works, it will all be unified and clarified, right? And I think those are the most important things. So I'm like glad that the Aave DAO is taking care of that. Uniswap, major props to them. The good thing is with Frax, we've always been very clear: one token, one vision, one mission, and I think that that's one of my predictions. The best tokens will have clarification. On the product side, I actually think that there's going to be products that are end to end, which means like the products that actually the stablecoin products that have full integration and payments in neobanks and have use cases in the real world and have on-chain liquidity, holders, and growth, they will be the ones that have a breakout. And so, for example, Athena is really, really big on chain, and I'm interested to see what they do off chain. For like Frax USD, we actually have a really big partnership proposal going through Aave governance right now. And I can talk about it because it's public. And so we have this unique risk-free yield streaming system into Aave so that lenders actually earn a lot more by lending Frax USD, and then borrowers, it's cheaper because the lenders are getting more, so borrowers have to pay less. And then we've done a lot of work with Mark and the ACI group to make sure that Frax USD's settings are identical to the big two, USDT and USDC, the emote settings, the collateral settings, the reserve factor, all of these things, so that all things being constant, which they are, we've worked with them on, then it is objectively better, this Genius compatible stablecoin that is redeemable, is a digital dollar. Why wouldn't this become the economic engine of lenders and borrowers in Aave? And then obviously with Aave's V4 release, we're also discussing things big there with them as well. And then this is just the on-chain stuff. There's a bunch of off-chain things that you guys know that we're working on. I think the end-to-end is what is the most important. I'm really interested to see what products are end-to-end. If a stable coin is just in payments, but it has literally no holders, no use cases on-chain, I don't think that it's going to be a big year for them. If a stablecoin is only on-chain and it is only, for example, a looping stablecoin or something like that, I'm not really sure if that's a hockey stick year for them in the size that it is for things that are end-to-end. And there's actually a good analogy that I was just thinking of the other day with this. And I know Kyle Samani hates analogies, but I think this one is actually very apt, because if you guys know about like Waymo and Tesla's FSD, I was actually looking at listening to Andre Kropotkin on a podcast, and he said most people don't know this, but Waymo actually has a human in the loop. There's a 5G connection, and then they use maps and additional modules for Waymo's self-driving, and it is not purely self-contained end-to-end in and of itself. And so if you guys saw the news a few weeks ago, there was a huge power outage in SF, and a bunch of these Waymos were literally like stopped in the middle of the street because people couldn't connect, the Waymo employees couldn't connect to them or beam in, and then also the GPS and stuff was off. But then Tesla, which is entirely self-contained, it's an on-chip, on-vehicle AI chip with cameras and direct reasoning, right? There's no internet connection. It entirely is self-contained, full loop. They were totally fine. And so I think that this is an interesting thing, because Tesla built something that's scalable end to end, and it's extremely valuable. Even though it looks kind of similar to Waymo, the Waymo model doesn't seem to be, at least from what I understand, to be as scalable. And it's actually much wider distance between like Tesla and Waymo than people think. And so what I was looking at is, how are these stablecoins actually used? Is it end to end from off-chain, on-chain, DeFi utility? Is there an actual utility in every single layer, or no? Do you have to swap to USDC to like at checkout, or like on Coinbase, or do you have to swap to USDT because people don't accept it in the geographic region you're in? Or no, is this thing fully end-to-end, an actual digital dollar with utility on-chain, off-chain, in the neobanking layer? And it's difficult to do, right? Because usually you start in one place, and then you have one niche, and then you sort of start expanding, and you have to expand to the right layers. Otherwise, you won't, in my prediction this year, you won't get that hockey stick growth. So for me, I think it's the year of unification when it comes to investments, economics, and price action. And then it's the year of end-to-end scalable integrations, which the Neo finance layer actually solves and finally connects to the real world.
Phenomenal answer. Makes a ton of sense. And I think one way to think about this unification process and this fully end-to-end model, this full stack model that you're talking about is verticalization. And we hear a lot about this, especially as we were kind of coming from this modular world, kind of like encroaching upon monolithic. And so I guess Frax as an example here, does this unification, this verticalization of the stack, does this mean you guys, are pursuing like a neobank to augment the stablecoin, the Frax USD stablecoin that you guys have? Or how when you were looking into this and you were looking at what end-to-end use of a stablecoin looks like, what did you end up finding? Did you end up finding like, okay, most of the time it is used in any particular venue. How can we service those venues better? And what are you guys doing to help unify the stablecoin flow?
Yeah, so as you guys know, like we have the Fraxnet platform, which is basically a full mint, redeem, virtual accounts, fiat on off ramp, and also virtual card compatible system. It's not meant to just, it's not necessarily a UI. It's also you can integrate it with APIs, on chain transactions, and all these things. In fact, the stack with Frax USD is that all the collateral is Genius compatible RWA, so you can actually mint and redeem directly on chain if your entity actually has the ability to touch RWAs. And so the whole stack is programmable. Our view is that we want all of the top neobank products, like we're working with EtherFi, to actually have deep native Frax USD spendable and reward streaming. And that's something that we're really excited about. And we'll give like really deep details on like how to actually spend it. Right now, like USDC is the only like deep spendable, like you can stake and then they can pull get a loan to spend, but the loan is in USDC, right? Like you swipe the EtherFi card, and then like what actually is spent is USDC. We're working with them to actually have Frax USD be digital dollars that are the second one after USDC, right? This other default, so to speak. I kind of call it the third default money after the big two, right? After USDT and USDC, you need to actually have the neobank utility, the integrations and other platforms, and provide the actual infrastructure and utility for everyone to be able to use it, like our Aave integration on chain, like the EtherFi stuff that we're rolling out, the orchestration that we're going to announce soon with Bridge and a few big clients. Like you can't have a stable coin where you use it in one small area in DeFi, and then if someone wants to build like a wallet or card, you have to then swap it to USDC because it's not orchestrated by Stripe, WorldPay, and there's no banks for it. So then really what you're doing is you're using USDC, and then in this tiny, single pool on an AMM or like a lending pair, you're using this synthetic dollar, right? There's a difference between money and a synthetic dollar product. And that doesn't mean synthetic dollar products are bad. They make a lot of money, right? They're a good savings or looping or like vaults, but there's not going to be that many hockey stick digital dollars because it requires a different set of utility and use cases on the full stack. And so with Frax USD, we are looking to be one of the few, in my opinion, the third default, so to speak. And actually, PYUSD I've looked is doing some great things, and we're talking to them in that area as well. So there might be a few more, maybe 4 defaults, so to speak, in 2026. So I've been keeping my eye really on who is building FSD of stablecoins, right? Like from a foundational perspective, who's actually building the thing that scales, right? Instead of kind of taping a bunch of things together, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Sam, I'm curious to get your take on this product called Rain. I'm sure Rain, that they power a lot of the crypto cards. I've heard a lot about it and how it's so important to all these crypto cards and how people are expecting a ton of growth there. Could you just maybe educate us on what Rain's role is in kind of like this neobank idea, and like why you have to have like this, like, I don't know if it's like a coordination layer or it's like a facilitation layer for spending. Like, is that competitive with Frax? Do you guys work with something like that? How does that work?
Well, hopefully this answers your question that it's actually really positive sum with Frax. I have a call with Rain actually in an hour after this podcast
Great.
is over. So we love them. They're also Dragonfly Portco,
Yeah.
really great technology. The way that I think say is that the exciting thing about 2026 as well is that there will be a lot of new on-off ramps or bridges that essentially to the real world that never existed before, right? And those will actually bring on the next 10, 50, 100 million users into crypto through stablecoins and through payments. And this bridge, like basically Rain is the bridge for cards, right? There's other things that we're actually experimenting with, like, if people can withdraw PYUSD or crypto from PayPal now, right? It's technically an instant settlement on off ramping, right? Before everything was so clunky because you had to have centralized exchanges where you ACH'd money and you convert it to crypto or stable coins, and then like you withdrew it to your wallet or something, right? But now you can actually use what was in the fintech layer, right? Like maybe you can actually use Robinhood. If you're a trader on Robinhood, you can withdraw Robinhood crypto, and then if you can orchestrate those withdrawals to just simply be API endpoints, right? Like let's say you trade some stocks on Robinhood and then you want to withdraw Frax USD or PYUSD, whichever they end up, and then you load it immediately onto a rain card, whether it's EtherFi, whether it's something that we co-design with them or all three of us together, right? It's a lot of composability and bridging to new user bases that before you had to withdraw to your bank, and then you had to go from the bank to like a centralized exchange, and then now it's as simple as an API call. So Rain is an innovator in this area because they literally made Visa cards the on-off ramp for everything. And so we have some really cool concepts to show them because we're connecting these different on-off ramps. And so like imagine like a card that you can load from PayPal, spend, and then withdraw to your wallet, and then go to Robinhood, trade, and then withdraw back, all in a very, very seamless way where it becomes literally the centerpiece of your financial life, because you can hold crypto, you can spend it, you can trade, and then you can immediately withdraw it on the spot or get a loan, maybe through Aave or Fraxlend or something like that, right? And so it's kind of like the, again, unification of a lot of functionality in a single stack.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just heard from Hasib on that, but also just been seeing more and more and realizing that all these cards are powered by it. And now starting to understand a bit more of like the Frax vision, as well as just the general way that the space is likely to progress. And how important to you is like this interoperability between different applications or different kind of like consumer facing apps, right? So you mentioned Robinhood, you got PayPal, there's things like Venmo, then obviously you've got like the MetaMasks, the Phantoms, and then like the centralized exchanges, Krakens, Coinbases, etc. Like, are you building for a world where it's like very seamless to operate across all these different, what would have previously been barriers, or like how is that space developing from your perspective, and what do you see there for this year going forward as far as these kind of different silos, bringing composability together via stablecoins, via cards, et cetera? Like, how is that going to change this year?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think I've always had like a stablecoin maxi view
Yeah.
of this stuff, which I actually thought that like stable coins, the ones that are like USDT, USDC, hopefully this year Frax USD, they're actually the interoperability packet between all of these places, rather than like an intense framework or some kind of like bridging product. The actual economic value packet, right? Like the TCP/IP packet of value is these stable coins that are able to flow between all of these places. And it's very difficult, right, to actually get stablecoin to be money and to be accepted as a dollar on Robinhood, on PayPal, at Stripe, to orchestrate with it directly, right? And so these things will be connected, but only through a short list of real money, right? Like the whole point of the dollar is that it is literally the economic packet, data packet, right, between different ledgers. And the ones that will do this like value transfer between ledgers is actually I think in the next 5 to 6 years is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. It kind of I actually think it'll be similar to how quickly Polymarket got really big, because a lot of people, and honestly, I'll admit, me included, are kind of down on prediction markets, because for like, since 2015 or 16, when Augur was the first Ethereum ICO, a bunch of people tried to build prediction markets. They didn't go anywhere. It seemed like a seasonal niche of like, it just pops off every time there's a really big election, or like there's a World Cup or something, and everyone wants to bet on like a big game or something like the Super Bowl. And then, it just becomes kind of irrelevant. That's honestly what I thought the empirical data showed. But Shane and the Polymarket guys, and then also obviously the Kalshi guys taking from a different angle, they just stuck to it, right? And then now it's bigger than anything that anyone's ever seen in crypto, and it's probably just going to keep growing, right? It's going to be a year of elections, World Cup. I think this is how it's going to be, where people are going to predict, there's the stable coins are going to be fragmented. There's going to be like, a bunch of like white label stable coins, and it's only going to be used in silos or whatever. And it's going to be really popular to kind of dunk on the multi-trillion-dollar, generalized money view, just like how it was popular to just be like, yeah, prediction markets have been tried 10 times. It's not going to work ever again. Like, whatever. But then very quickly, at the inflection point, it's going to be like, oh shit, like 3 or 4 of these are literally going to be like, the supply is going to be literally above $1 trillion, $2 trillion. And I really think that being patient, being methodical, and being confident that that's how things are going to play out, being long-term, just like Shane at Polymarket, your day will come, because the arc of history bends towards this exact outcome, and whoever's there and has been executing methodically. This is not just us, right? It's a few teams, right? I think that's when something even bigger than Polymarkets overnight, kind of it looked overnight, right? And it like 0 to 9 billion or whatever, right? But it was years of conviction, right? And I think that this will be how it'll be.
Yeah, I'd like to zoom out, guys, and just kind of think about more of like some of the regulatory happenings, as well as what's happening in Venezuela, and just generally like with the US. We've taken over Venezuela, looking like we're getting Greenland. Like, this is all happening. I'm not sure how it affects the Fed. We got a new Fed chair coming in May. Sam's smiling. I'm sure he's got some takes here. Apparently, we're getting crypto market structure bill voting next week, which would be huge as far as kind of getting that through. So kind of like when we're thinking about some of the macro tailwinds here, Sam, are you more positive with regards to stable coins than 2025 for let's say the first half of 2026? Neutral, negative? Where are you at from the big picture here with regards to how it affects our little industry?
I was smiling because I was trying to think, do I put on my like geopolitical analyst hat?
Every man wants to.
Yeah, right. Like everyone becomes a geopolitical analyst as soon as like the Blackhawks like touch down somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But I think, look, Greenland is super fun. I'm gonna go off a little bit, and I think like what's really interesting about what the Trump admin is doing is like, these things haven't been tried in this way. Like, it used to be either regime change and nation building, or just like leave them alone and like negotiate some treaty or something, right? But these guys have a totally different view, and it'll either work really really well, or it won't. And so like with Greenland, actually, I keep thinking like, what's the point of like undermining a NATO ally in Denmark, and why wouldn't you just sign like a NATO agreement, right? And then I realized like, maybe the whole point is like actually even more long term. People don't give Trump credit of like, it's like, oh, he's not long term thinker and all this stuff. In a world where like Europe is on its own, or like the US disengages and is only in the American hemisphere, right? You need Greenland to be in the American sphere of influence, because if Europe is in charge of its own security, or more so, right? Like these aren't, black and white, but it's on a spectrum. You don't want Europeans to be able to check American power in the North Arctic, right? And I'm talking like 15 years from now. I'm not talking next year. I'm not talking even like 2030. I'm talking like 10 to 15 years from now, where Europeans are remilitarized. They entirely are in charge of their own defense, right? And the U.S. does not have to shield them because they are a civilization and they've produced their own weapons. You don't want the Europeans to have Greenland as a stationing base against America as a bargaining chip. Not that they're going to like attack them or anything, right? You want to take that now, and how that pans out, I have no idea. And I have no idea about Venezuela and how that pans out. But if the entire like macro economy goes the way that Trump's strategy is, and they're able to lower rates, and this doesn't blow up in their face, and the U.S. gets sovereignty over Greenland and some kind of like pact of free association, which is like kind of adding territory, not a state, not full annexation, right? It's kind of the same way that Guam and the Marshall Islands and in the Pacific Theater are part of America, but they're a sovereign country. If that happens with Greenland this year, if Venezuela ends up, just being essentially a flawless 30-minute special ops that gets all the benefits of regime change without all the problems of nation building and stuff, I think we're going to pump. I think we're going to pump massively, and that's my view. If these things blow up in our faces, and if there's new conflict in the Middle East or in the European theater, and the rates have to be cut because things are bad, that'll just cancel the rate cuts out, and like I think we're going to have a weird year. So I think it was Dave Chappelle. I was actually watching something that he said, and he's like, look, whether you agree with the president or not, whoever's the president at any time, you are rooting for him, because if you're part of the Western world, you're an American like me and stuff, you are rooting for them to do what is right for America. So we'll see. That's how I think about it.
Yeah. And then with regards to, go to him.
Well, I don't have too much to add, except for the one thing on Greenland was I saw an interview with Stephen Miller, who's part of this task force when it comes to Venezuela, helping run the country while there isn't really a president there. And they were asking him about Greenland. They were obviously trying to bait him into a headline about using military force against Greenland. And then he turned it back and was like who would they even fight? Greenland doesn't have a military. Like, I guess you'll be fighting Denmark, but Sam, you make a great point when it comes to just inking a deal with NATO. But America sort of already runs NATO itself. That is the security guarantee. So it was sort of a catch-22. It's like, wait, you could kind of just do the same thing with Greenland. People wouldn't be as happy about it. Maduro is a lot more problematic as a leader, but there's probably even less military force in Greenland than there is in Venezuela.
There's no one there. There's 70,000 people, right? Like, I think the reason people are a little confused about it is that the admin hasn't clearly said its real strategic reason, at least not like publicly in like a clear way. The goal, I think, from how I interpret it, is that the U.S. needs to have this for a decade later, where the Europeans are remilitarized and in charge of their own security, so that this is not a European outpost, it is an American outpost. And they're not going to do any kind of military, like, there's nothing to fight, like you guys said. Right. And so the reason they want this to happen is they want Greenland to have a vote for independence, right? Like a totally, like sovereign democratic vote. And then once they're independent, they obviously don't have the means to have their own security. They need to have some kind of direct relationship, which is obviously they think it's going to be the United States, similar to Guam and the Marshall Islands. These are islands that are sovereign, but they need a security guarantor that has security sovereignty, but the people have representational democratic sovereignty over their own country. And so that allows the US to not actually have to bargain with Europeans anymore on Greenland. And so it's actually not about NATO. That's what's kind of confusing, because people are like, well, yeah, you could just put a NATO base there. In fact, they have radars and everything for the past 80 years since the Cold War there. The point is something that is not NATO for the day after that there's a different security architecture in the European theater. That's just my armchair political hat on.
And so when it comes to the more, I guess, direct impact of the regulatory regime here, obviously we've got the Genius Act passed, but it needs to be implemented still. And I think you guys are waiting on that or some sort of like legal clarity as far as like implementation. And then from what I understand, next week is the big market structure bill week. Sam, what is going on Capitol Hill, you know, from your people that you speak to, from the Frax perspective? Where are we at with the Genius implementation? What should we expect from next week? What are your hopes and dreams for this market structure bill? And then how do you kind of see all this coming together for the stablecoin market?
Yeah, so I'm pretty still involved in knowing the day-to-day stuff of Genius. Less so anymore with market structure, because I think that it's important, but it's not directly to Frax products. And I think Frax USD and all these licensed, ready to go Genius compatible stablecoins will be able to apply sometime this year for a federal license or state, depending on what they'll do. That I'm pretty confident because the legislation's passed. It's a matter of when, not if. And kind of goes back to on the market structure stuff, the geopolitics, which is if the bill isn't passed by midterms, I think that it's going to be very, very difficult for it to pass in this kind of shape or form, because what's going to happen is you're going to have politics, right? The Democrats want different priorities. For example, they're going to try to block a lot of things with Greenland or Venezuela or things like that. And they're going to be like, don't do this, just sign a NATO treaty. And like, don't do all of this stuff. And so the Republicans will have to negotiate and give up some certain concessions that Democrats, don't want to happen, like the market structure bill, the way that it is currently. And so then the odds of the things passing in this way become very, very low. So I'm watching it closely. I'm not there in person or anything anymore. But hopefully things get passed by midterms, because then there's a very low chance that this becomes the top priority after that.
And so next
Crazy.
week,
It's crazy that, you take concessions from some random piece of legislature as it relates to Greenland, and the concession is made over on the market structure bill. It's like those two things are so disconnected, yet the Republicans and Democrats, there's bargaining chips, and they use these things in each of these bills to negotiate. But
it's politics.
Yeah. But Sam, I wanted to ask you one other thing related to this, which is this FRNT token, this Wyoming stablecoin that came out today. It kind of seems like a nothing burger. It launched on Solana. Do you anticipate kind of the growth of stablecoins that you predicted, going into the first half of 2026? This, there's kind of these this synthetic dollars and then real, digital money. Where does this one fall? And do you think it's poised for growth? Do you think we're going to see more states launch their own stable coins? And what would be the benefit?
Yeah, I was actually just looking at that earlier today with their announcement. I think this will be a good litmus test. Like you said, whether it's a nothing burger or it's a great example of how states should do maybe their own digital dollar. And the reason I say that is no one owns, obviously it's like day one, but like no one owns this stable coin. I want to see if there's any real use case on chain or even off chain outside of very narrow payments or things in the state of Wyoming, right? This goes back to this end-to-end thing where if a stablecoin exists and it's not that useful or no one holds it, does it really like actually exist, right? Like, is it actually something that matters? And so this will be a good example of like, look, this is a state-backed digital dollar. It can't possibly get any more like legal and tender and safe and whatever than that. But does it matter? It's that the main thing that is important? And so I think this is a good example of it's really safe. It's used in some parts of payments, but like Is it going to be orchestratable in like the global large payment processors like Stripe and WorldPay and stuff, or is it going to be on chain? Is it going to have actual holders? Because if you think about it, like if no one's holding it and no one wants to use it as a reserve asset, for treasury management, all this stuff, it almost like it doesn't exist, right? If like a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it actually exist? Same thing here. If no one holds it, if no one's using it on the blockchain. And so I'm not saying that's how it's going to be. I'm just saying like that's part of the fact that these stablecoins need to exist on the full loop, on the full stack to actually be useful.
Yeah, to your earlier point about full self-driving, full stack is necessary in order for everyone to see the tree, hear the tree, make sure it falls.
And that's that last mile problem that a lot of these companies were trying to solve with stablecoins, right? Is this like last mile to actually being spent in the real world? And we really haven't seen much of that yet. But just to come back to your predictions and then close out, unification of token and equity, one big thing that I think we're going to see. And then it's this end-to-end stablecoin stack. Like it's no longer enough to just be a stablecoin in DeFi and a stablecoin on centralized exchanges. You need to be in the neobanks, in the payment processing, in the proof of point of sale systems. You're really looking to create like a full, the furthest, most non-custodial looping strategy on Pendle using Morpho and some extraneous new DeFi app, all the way to like, mom and pops, like, PayPal account that they're using for spending. It's like that whole stack is what we're looking to basically replicate and create. So, yeah.
We are on Pendle, and we will soon be orchestratable and supported by Bridge's a stablecoin system through Stripe. And so, how many stablecoins can say that, right? Like they're on Pendle, Aave, and stuff, and in payments, right? It's I think I can count it on one hand, right? Like less than 5. So
Yeah.
that's actually a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Sam, have a great year, man. Looking forward to your big Q1. I know that you guys have a lot planned out. Thanks for joining us. First episode of Stable Up this year. Looking forward to keeping it going. We're on our way to the trillions in stablecoins. I think we had Hasib, he predicted a 60% year-over-year growth this year, which would put us to about 450 billion, if I'm not mistaken, 500 billion-ish. I think that we can go bigger, but we're on our way to a trillion, man.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure to be on, and I'll take your side of it. I think we can go a little bigger and also contribute to part of that with Frax USD.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Guys, thanks for watching Stabled Up. We'll be right back. Thanks, Sam.
Yeet is built for big moments. The most fun you'll ever have with your crypto. Go to yeet.com to yeet into your next game.
Not your keys, not your coins. From the team that pioneered cold storage, Trezor has just released its new wallet. Guys, if you are still using hot wallets in 2025, 2026, you are missing the entire point. Secure your coins. Get a Trezor at trezor.io.
Go anywhere on chain instantly with Relay.link. Relay is closing in on $10 billion transferred. Go to Relay.link to bridge your assets now.
Money shouldn't wait for Mondays. Following its real upgrade, Polygon is now one of the fastest chains for stablecoin transfers and payments. Visit Polygon Technology to learn more.
Kalshi is the world's largest prediction market. You can trade on anything in all 50 states. Go to Kalshi.com to trade today.
Talk to AI like your lawyer or your doctor or your therapist.
It's kind of insane how we're talking about having this vote next week for
Mhm.
market structure, but there's another camp that's like, yeah, just as long as it happens before midterms.
Well, that's like the implementation and like the agreement. You know what I mean?
But if they vote on it and they approve it next week, isn't that it? Like the rest of it sort of falls into place. As
I
far as
suppose, but
understand.
I think what's going to happen next week is like they're going to get really close, and then there's going to be some red lines. Like it's just not. It's just like what I think. What Sam's saying is that they want to get the vote done and implemented and actually like fully agreed on. Like what's going to happen is that they're going to vote next week, and the guarantee the Democrats are going to come up with something that they don't approve of, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. And so what Sam's saying, I think, is that they, like, basically, I think this is like the first, like, I'm not sure if it's actually factual, but I think it's like one of the first votes that's actually happened because they were just passing it back and forth before even getting to a vote. So now I think it's like the first vote.
But if they vote and they're happy,
no, then there's no way.
You think the vote is not going to pass?
No.
But like, if you get Genius, right? Ultimately, Genius did pass. Like there was, and now you still have a majority in both the Senate and the House.
Yeah. But we'll see if it ends up passing. It's probably not. It's going to take many, many times. So
I guess I just think if it does, and if they does pass the vote, then well, that's kind of all there is to it.
Yeah. All right, let's flip into some of the last couple of news pieces that we wanted to cover here. Yeah, this is interesting, right? So this is Neo Finance. Full list of tier A tokens to establish themselves in DeFi. It's revenue generators, yet most of them are in red while Syrup's in green. By the way, what do you expect for a token which continuously breaking records month by month, generating $30 million ARR in December, trading at 14x multiple? This is obvious. 2026 will be more awesome for Maple Finance. And so you look at these cash cows here, and I think this does a pretty good job of showing Neo Finance. But man, none of these performed well last year. I mean, look at that.
Business-driven tokens.
I mean, 90 days. I mean, obviously it was a bear market for alts, but I mean, look at this thing.
Companies that are actually making money.
Yeah. Negative 50 to 70%. But like, this is where the space is going, man.
Yes. I can also see a case where like a lot of these tokens just, we got Curve on here, GMX. Like, is Perps included in this category that we believe is going to dominate 2026? I tend to think that, a lot of these are actually going to gain adoption as they integrate with more of the institutional players and they get more institutional capital. But as far as like how that translates into a token price remains to be seen. Even buybacks are not sending these tokens higher.
No, I know.
It's so weird, I think it all comes down to all this is important because if you don't have this, really it's not going to work. But I think there's a missing piece and it's friendly monetary policy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And credit creation. And
totally agree with that.
I think that's sort of the I think that's the elephant in the room. That's what's holding it back.
It is. Yeah.
Even from companies that are doing quite well. But these companies, if we don't get friendly macro monetary policy, these companies are going to gain adoption. Their protocols are going to do great. But their
token prices may not change. Yeah, that's what Santi's argument was. It's interesting.
But macro could flip that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is interesting. These are sorted by annualized fee revenue, right? So Hype, Maker, Sky, Jupiter, Aave, Lido, Arrow, etc.
I don't see Uni up there.
But I just don't. Yeah, I mean, some of these tokens are just cooked. Like, you will not catch me buying Radium. Like, in DYDX, like Venus. Man, it's just crazy, man. We have so many tokens.
Timu.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from the revenue tokens here. I think this is an important one to look at, but it's hard to draw any actual conclusions from like prices.
I saw Frax on there.
Yeah,
Frax is generating some revenue.
It's hard to generate any actual conclusions from performance of tokens when Bitcoin's going down. Nothing escapes the king. So it's like that's the world that we live in.
Yeah. So what do we have here? Telegram sold nearly 10% of the current circulating market cap of TON
Yep.
in 2025.
Yep. It's
I
no
don't even know
surprise
what
there that the TON's gotten wrecked.
Gotten smashed. Yeah. Got to scroll quite
It's
a
actually
bit.
up. It's up in the last bit. But yeah, no.
I don't even see it. It used to be top 10.
So what's the problem here is that they sold a ton of their token?
Yes.
Initially developed in-house of Telegram, but it's currently being developed by open source community. Durov has publicly championed the coin, and then total value is at 787 million compared to 1.3 billion. Yeah, so Telegram sold 10% of the whole supply and made a ton of money. I mean, no surprise there.
Token is the product.
Let's see. Keep scrolling here.
Man, all of this is so great. Why do these companies have to launch tokens?
To make money.
It's just there's
Keep going
actually
here.
there's actually a utility for a lot of these things. Like
Scroll down a bit more.
So much of this is just financial engineering. 450 million in TON.
Yeah. And then you look at the chart and you're like,
I wonder where they started selling.
Yeah, this was year to date last year, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the top was last summer. Yeah, I mean, since 2025, it was down only.
Oh yeah. I mean, but again, it's like, how can you draw any conclusions from what's happening in the market when everything has been down only because the king's down? It's like
the king was up for a decent chunk of 2025.
It was. Yes.
And a lot of these things still continue to go down. So I also recognize the point that everything is sort of moving in unison.
Yes.
Like there's not really many outliers. To be fair, during the last segment, maple and syrup are doing quite well. They're down a little bit today, but that is one that looks particularly good. Who did we have on yesterday? We had Sizik on.
Yep.
They only launched a month or two ago, but again, their token is up since it launched. But it's few and far between. And
yeah.
And it's tough because we talked about this last show as well. Gold, silver, metals in general are up.
Stocks, everything's it's like, like there is there is
I saw an interesting
there's more venues to speculate.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like play the game, win the game. You got to choose the game strategically.
Yes.
About where there's chances to win. I saw Whale Panda, someone I followed since 2017, really prominent guy. And he was kind of doing this whole song and dances. I find it funny when people are like, I'm going to log off Twitter. I'm not coming back. But he was kind of making the point where, he was explaining why Bitcoin had underperformed stocks and metals in 2025. And his reason was because there's so many paper derivatives of Bitcoin. There's actually infinite supply.
Like you could buy IBIT or like any other perp or anything.
Exactly. And that all
still affects Bitcoin's price.
It does, but it's not 1-to-1. It's not like you buy one, nominal Bitcoin worth of IBIT.
I think that takes stupid.
But I mean,
I get what you mean, but like I think that takes dumb.
I don't know how what the ratio actually is. If I bought, what is Bitcoin right now? Around 90, right?
IBIT is 100% backed. Like if there's 100 million in IBIT, they have 100 million of Bitcoin.
Are they? But there's also they're going out and they're conducting these transactions on the open Bitcoin market that aren't necessarily. It's not 1-to-1. It's not 1-to-1. There is derivative products of Bitcoin that people are trading, and those derivative products are not going and buying Bitcoin on the open market.
I think it's like MicroStrategy or like
exactly.
It's that stuff. It's not like the ETFs as much. It's like the
that
Bitminer.
Sure.
I agree though. Yeah.
But that's all
you can
money
buy
People are
Sharplink instead
looking
of
for
ETH.
Bitcoin exposure and they're not going into Bitcoin. They're going
Yeah,
to
you can buy Sharplink or whatever it is. Yeah, instead of ETH. Yeah, yeah. I hear you on that.
I just found it a bit unique. I hadn't heard that before. All right, what do we got next? Just one left here.
Yeah, I think that's the Toncoin one. No surprise there, I suppose.
Inside Crypto's $360 million self-custody empire.
They
What is
built
this?
banks the SEC can't touch.
Let's scroll down a little bit. What have we got here?
Neobank.
The rise of neobanks, a new class of crypto native financial platforms that's moving beyond wallets into full-fledged banking territory as on-chain neobanks be on-chain neobanks. Huge, because you could have Cash App, you could have Revolut. These guys are coming on-chain.
Yep, this is exactly the Mike Novogratz's thesis around.
Yeah.
We're gonna see wallets and these types of platforms move into neobanks.
Superform, Vera, Tria are no longer experimental DeFi products. Instead, they are operating self-custodial financial systems that combine yield payments and chain abstraction. Andy, you remember chain abstraction?
That's what Tree is doing.
Haven't
From
heard
wallets to financial operating systems.
hadn't heard of chain abstraction in a while. Shout out
I know,
to the
right?
article. Good boy, Ethan. The shift marks a structural evolution in crypto finance.
Yep.
Convenience and custody are no longer mutually exclusive. Convenience and custody.
Yep.
Wallets to financial operating systems. Look, we're betting on this. We believe this is going to continue.
100%. 100%. This is it. I mean, this is the move that's happening. Is like you can do hold, earn, spend, payments, everything in one. The question is, there's going to be so many of these. Like, there's going to be a couple winners.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Oh yeah.
Dudes and dudettes, I think we're about wrapped for today. We are just getting back into the flow of things here on the stream. We have a big show on Friday. Tomorrow should be a fun show as well. Silly week's coming to an end. Transak couldn't make it today. They pulled the rug from under us, but it's all good. So, guys, thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed the Sam segment. Keep your head on straight out there, and it's Neo Finance season, guys.
It is Neo Finance season. We're going to be talking a lot more about it. So, guys, go research Neo Finance, teach yourself something, or come here, learn from us. We'll tell you. We'll teach you about Neo Finance tomorrow, same time.
All right, guys. See ya.